So today's video, we're going to be talking about what I think is the Amazon KDP winning combination. So this is going to be based off of my 13 years of observations. Most of these years have been massive failures. We're also going to be talking about what has been consistently working across other successful publishers and what has not been proven to work across other publishers as well. So this is what I believe works best, and I'm going to base this off of my own experience of primarily selling books that are under $10, so coloring books, activity books, low or medium content books. But I do believe the information in this video is going to be applicable for most, because of course approaches can vary slightly depending on the type of book that you're publishing, the cost of the book, and the demand as well. But I do believe that with this winning combination, you can see results much faster. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Chris, and as you just seen, I've been publishing for over 10 years. Most of that time has been massively unsuccessful until the last sort of 3 to 4 years, where I changed my approach to publishing. And during this period, we've sold over 170,000 units on Amazon, primarily coming from around 30 to 40 books. I'm also the founder of the Raydog KDP membership. If you want to check that out, it's chrisraydog.com. I'm also going to be showcasing some of our recent members' results who've been following the structure that I outline in this video as we go through. So if you know me, then you know that my approach to publishing revolves around putting emphasis into areas that are proven to help you make sales and to pull the emphasis away from areas that have not been proven to make sales. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with the areas that I feel have not really ever been proven to move the needle that much for people. So we're going to start with keyword research and keyword research tools. So again, not to be distasteful, I got nothing against these tools. I just don't think that they help people that much proportionate to what they cost. Just my opinion. I found that once I stopped using these tools, that I started to focus on the things that really mattered. So you see some people going crazy over the different keywords that they're searching for, creating Excel sheets for these different long tail, short tail keywords, back end keywords, and things like this. And I've never ever seen anyone come and say that they can attribute their success to utilizing keyword research tools. So I completely understand that they are there to supplement your own efforts. But what I would be interested, and this is what I'm going to prove as we go through this video, what I'd be interested to know is if someone's been publishing for, let's say, 2 to 3 years, and they've been completely unsuccessful, and then they started using a certain keyword research method or keyword research tool. Has anybody been in that scenario where they were not having success, and then buying the tool or utilizing keyword strategies has been the determining factor to seeing sales starting to come in? And again, it's just not something that I've ever seen. And also, again, it's nothing against these tools. I do think if you are prepared to put the emphasis where it should be, then the tools can help you a little bit. I do actually like some of the tools like Publisher Rocket and Helium 10. I don't use them. I personally don't recommend them, especially the niche competitive scores things as well. I think it's slightly misleading in terms of opportunity. And another thing with keywords as well, just to make a point here, is that I'm not 100% sure how much emphasis Amazon now puts onto keywords. I think we're sort of getting to a point where Amazon's algorithm is just going to match the product that people are looking for with the person that is searching for them, with less emphasis being put onto very specific keywords. So I don't think it's something that people should spend too much time or too much money with. So that's keyword research, just my thoughts. Now, advertising strategies, advertising spend, and forcing your BSR to a certain point, again, I think is a pretty worthless pursuit. So when it comes to BSR forcing, what I'm talking about here is that there are quite a lot of people that think something magic happens when you hit a certain BSR. So what I've seen people talk about is that if you hit a 10,000 BSR, then all of a sudden you're going to start getting tons and tons of organic sales. Now, there is definitely something to be said that if there is a velocity of sales coming to your book, then Amazon is likely to start promoting and pushing that book to other areas of Amazon. But that doesn't mean that if you get to a certain BSR, that's when all these magical things start happening. So what people do is they start utilizing different strategies and increasing their advertising spend to try and hit a certain BSR, as opposed to letting it happen naturally. And again, my attitude toward publishing and advertising strategies, you're going to see that as we go through the upcoming sections as to why it's extremely boring, but extremely important that we get this right. And the reality is that it's not going to be your advertising strategies, your advertising spend that makes your book sell. Okay, so we'll go through the reasons why as we go through the next few slides. But that is something to take into consideration, is that advertising strategies, they can be quite a personal pursuit. Some people can get things completely wrong and end up spending too much money on a book that wasn't worth spending money on. So you need to have something in place that tells you when you should carry on with an advertising campaign or whether you should stop doing that. So typically I will look at the metrics, I'll set a budget, set up some automatic campaigns, look at the metrics, just see if they're good enough to make a decision going forward, and then go from there. Basically, it doesn't have to be overly complicated. It's boring, but you do have to think about your ads. Again, we'll talk about that as we go through the video. So review farming is another one that is an obsession for people. Something, in my opinion, that people put way too much emphasis on. I'm going to explain by looking at a couple of my BSR charts here for two of my slightly better selling books. So by review farming, I mean going to these kind of review swap websites, getting what is ultimately fake reviews on your book, and then launching your book, hoping that those reviews will increase the amount of sales that you get and increase the conversions for your advertising campaign. So I'm looking at this from a perspective of selling books under $10, books that have the potential to make more organic sales than they do advertising sales. The type of books that people gift during Q4, during birthdays, and things like that. So for higher content books, I think there's probably an argument that maybe reviews are more important, but I'm still on the fence. Because again, I don't know if it's been proven, and I know that someone can come back to me with a stat saying that customers are more likely to buy a book, a product on Amazon if it has X amount of reviews on it. Now, I'm curious what that is being targeted toward. Is that just products in general, or is that books? Just to make a point with the advertising, I'm going to get my pen out here just so you can see what I mean by this. So this is the launch of the book here, the first the first 2 or 3 weeks of the book's going live. They have absolutely no advertising spend on these books. Now, these are coloring books, of course, that's what I like to do. And we had absolutely no reviews, and we managed to get the BSRs for both of these books. One of them went down to 500 in the US store without any reviews on it whatsoever, which is insane. Of course, the other one got down to, I think it was like a 5,000 BSR with hardly any reviews on that. Maybe it picked up a couple during this point here, but it was a very natural process where we let the reviews come in as and when the customer wanted to leave them. The reviews were legit. They might have been a 2-star review here and there, a 3-star, but at least they were 100% real. And I genuinely don't think customers are stupid anymore. I think reviews are, for like lower price books, I do think reviews are kind of being washed over, and people just buy books that they think look beautiful. They think they're going to help them de-stress or whatever. And another thing that I hear a lot is that once you have reviews, you're going to start seeing better conversions for your advertising campaigns. So I can tell you factually, across this period here, these 2 periods here when the books went live, when they didn't have any reviews, the advertising statistics for all the different types of ads that I've ever run, they remain pretty much the same, with 0 reviews, 100 reviews, 200 reviews, 1,000 reviews. They've stayed pretty much the same across the entirety of the book's lifetime. So that's why I don't really put much emphasis on collecting reviews. And again, this has been something I've seen that is consistent across other successful publishers who are publishing slightly lower content, lower priced books. I've literally witnessed people that have gone and bought reviews, like maybe 50 to 60 reviews for every single book that they've launched, and nothing has happened to those books until they have made the changes that actually matter. So I'll show you as we go through the changes that really matter. So that's why I'm not big on this whole review farming thing. Maybe it is a high content book pursuit, but again, I would still be not too sure with that. But I know this is one of those funny areas, and pardon me for ranting slightly here, because this is something that I can't really prove, because someone could say to me, well, if you've had 20 books and only 5 of them have gone on to make a ton of sales, if you got reviews on these books, you would have had 10 books that would have gone on to make sales. And I truly don't believe that, based off of all the observations that I've just gone over here, based off the observations of other people that are publishing these books and farming shitty reviews, I just don't think it's going to make that much difference. And I do eventually think that review swapping will be completely forbidden. I'm not sure, but I think it might be. And again, I know this because I've experienced this myself for a very long time. I've been communicating inside of the Raydog membership with publishers who've been doing the same thing, people who've been farming reviews for many, many years. And then all of a sudden they start seeing success when they start applying the things that really matter, which is one of the reasons that I set up the Raydog membership, so people could come in and get feedback on what they're actually doing, so they can take steps to improving their books and therefore getting more clicks, getting more sales on their books. We're really focusing on the things that matter. So if you're interested in checking out the Raydog membership, it's chrisraydog.com. It comes with an amazing Discord community where you can get a ton of feedback from other successful publishers, and you can get feedback from me. There's also course content if you learn that way. So we have all the course content from getting started to niche research, keyword research, advertising, metrics, case studies, and the Raydog live recordings. So every single Friday, as part of the membership, we do a live group call that goes on for about an hour, and then I stay on just to chat with people afterwards. All these calls get recorded. We talk about so many different topics every single week. And again, this combination of the Discord group, the courses, the feedback that people are getting, the live calls, is helping people progress to creating better books. So before we do that, another place I think people should take the emphasis away from is buying what seems like an infinite amount of tools and different courses. So having witnessed people spending pretty much thousands of dollars a month on different services, coaching tools, review swap websites, and advertising agencies and places like this, I think people are spending too much money on the next shiny object, basically. So in my opinion, courses are great. I personally learn quite well from course content, but in my opinion, there's really no need at all to pay hundreds to thousands of dollars just to learn the process of publishing. Again, it's not what I think matters. I think what matters the most is actually getting feedback on what you are doing in your specific situation. Because what I've found over the years is that people can go through course content, they can learn all the strategies, they can learn all the keyword stuff, but if they get stuck with something that they are completely clueless is causing them to get stuck, then they will stay stuck for potentially years. So that's why I don't think courses are worth that much money. The individual pursuit and what you are doing and getting progression on that is what matters the most. So in my opinion, it is better to invest into things like book covers or coaching or communities. Obviously, I've got my own community where people can come in, share what they're doing, get feedback, and progress. Genuinely, I've seen people that have been publishing for a very long time, and they said, I've bought so many different types of courses, none of them work for me. So it's not the courses. All the courses are great. I've been through a few different publishers' courses, and they're all fantastic. But why are some people having success and some people not having success? It's because of the books that you're publishing, right? None of this matters. There's lots of like case studies on YouTube. Again, not to be distasteful, there's case studies of people growing their account to X amount from whatever, $1,000 to $10,000 a month or whatever. But again, none of it really matters unless you can see the product, the niche, the changes, the thought process that goes into it, which is one of the reasons that I showcase every single book that I publish, my main pen name. I showcase this inside of my membership so people can see what I am doing as well. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about hoarding your $1 million idea as we go through this, because it's so important. It's so important. I'll explain as we go through this. But if you're going to invest into something like a piece of software, just get one bit of software that you're actually going to use instead of buying every single new shiny object that comes around, because you can end up spending thousands and it's not going to be proportionate to the amount that you're going to make back. So bottom line for this section is to spend your money thoughtfully. So next useless pursuit, in my opinion, is watching hot niche videos. So I'm on the fence with this because I can understand that people do want to get some idea as to where to start. But I also think if you're being spoon-fed niches, then you're kind of falling into this side hustle pursuit, which I think is fundamentally flawed. I'm going to talk about that in the next slide. But also with these videos here, they are highly exaggerated, telling people they can make X amount of money per month just because of a niche. Now the execution, again, it comes down to the execution and what you actually publish, and not necessarily the niche itself. So again, I think this is kind of useless to build what should be a business around hot niches every creating lots of different types of books in different niches. I think people should settle with one and build a real business around that, which again, the building a real business, we're going to talk about that as we go into the next section of slides, but just something to consider. And again, this falls into that kind of side hustle pursuit where I think obviously there's a lot of bullshit on YouTube about making millions from blank journals and things like this, which is outrageous that people are okay to spread such bullshit on YouTube, but that's the domain that we're in. But this side hustle pursuit where people think they're going to come in, just publish some low content books and make an extra $1,000 a month, that would be great. I'd be happy with that. It's so hard. It's almost impossible, in my opinion, to come in, buy a little bit of software, publish some books every now and then see like $500 to $1,000 a month of side hustle income, because it doesn't, again, it's not going to work. There's a lot more that goes into it. And again, we'll talk about where you should be putting your time. But I just think if that's the attitude that you're having, the time that you spent doing that versus the potential reward, you honestly might as well just be cutting people's lawns on the weekend and seeing more money for the time that you spend, in my opinion. Now, it is that I put this in red because I think this is the big one, which is hoarding your $1 million ideas. A lot of people that are new to publishing, who are momentarily super hyped up to get into publishing books, they have their expectations obviously completely out of line. Don't know where that comes from, probably from YouTube stuff. But what happens is that we see people like me on YouTube who don't want to show their books off to a wider audience, which I think is fair enough. I don't think anything would happen if people actually shared their books. You might get the occasional troll leaving you 1-star reviews on every new book that you publish, which is the reason that I don't do it. But that attitude, it kind of transfers to everyone. And we get to the point where now a lot of people, they don't want to share their $1 million ideas. They're super new, super excited. They don't want anyone to see their new ideas because they're going to get copied. It's going to make them a ton of money. And if they reveal that idea, someone's going to take it and they're going to become the millionaire. And the reality, again, the reality for this is it's never going to happen. It just really doesn't happen. Again, this is what I've witnessed from doing this for a very, very long time. And one of the best advantages, one of the biggest advantages you have as a new publisher or a struggling publisher is to share your ideas with people, share your books with people, share your books with people that know what they're talking about, get feedback on them and progress from there. Because again, if you don't share what you're doing, you're going to get stuck, and you're going to get stuck for a very long time. And the likelihood is you're going to start publishing books and you're going to start running advertising campaigns to them, and you're just going to lose money month after month after month after month. And again, in the upcoming slides, I can prove why it is helpful to get feedback on everything that you're doing, especially as a beginner. And just one thing to consider as well is that people aren't going to copy your idea until it's proven, until it's making sales on Amazon. So if your book is then making, your idea is then making good money on Amazon, people are going to copy you anyway. So it's all completely illogical. And I do think if you have a YouTube channel, then it is logical to not share your books. But for every other person, I think it's a very, very healthy pursuit. And that's why I've created the Raydog membership, to create a very healthy, helpful environment for publishers who want to actually progress with their publishing journey as fast as humanly possible. So being impatient is another big one here, whether it's with your advertising campaigns, whether it's with the content creation for your book, or whether it's the book covers, whether it's just building this business in general. People are so impatient because we want money quickly. But if you look across YouTubers, especially who've been successful, you'll find that there is really no one out there that's done this within 6 months. They just don't exist. There are probably people now that could build another business in 6 months to a year, but there's just no one that exists, including myself. Obviously, I've taken many years, many mistakes to get to this point. But being impatient, expecting results, expecting not to lose money initially is not realistic. So with those ramblings out the way, let's talk about where I think people should put their focus. And that is the progression of things like your book cover. So just to give an example of something that I mocked up for a swear word book that I published a fair few months ago here. One of the best things you can do for your publishing journey is to up your book cover game. Okay, so this is actually being cut off at the top here because I had the pen name on it. But progressing with your book cover, if you're going to spend time, if you're going to spend money, spend that time learning how to create really gorgeous book covers. If you're going to spend money, outsource a book cover to someone that knows how to create book covers. Because this pursuit, and we see it so often on YouTube where people are just going through creating a book, creating it very quickly in Canva, and they end up with something ever so slightly better than this here. This does not make people money. And the reason for this is because whilst the marketplace is competitive, it's competitive with all these kind of shitty looking books here. Now, when someone clicks on your book cover, then you have a chance of making a sale. Then you have a chance of Amazon pushing you out further onto its platform. So what does Amazon prioritize? It prioritizes people's books getting clicks. It then prioritizes people's books being purchased. That if we had to bring everything back to like what matters the most, it is getting clicks and getting sales. Now, if you upload a book cover that looks like this, do you think you're going to get clicks? No. If you don't get clicks, you won't get sales, you won't get pushed out across more of Amazon. So that's why it's super important. No matter what you do, no matter what your method of content creation is, even if it is in Canva, you have to spend more time to get yourself to a very high quality book cover. So this is just an example of an abandoned project here. I didn't quite like the composition of this page because of this area here, but just to give you some insights into what I do for my own books, I focus heavily on creating a sketch that is going to be used specifically for the book cover. So that sketch is created using ChatGPT. Then that idea gets taken over to an illustrator. That then gets put into Leonardo to give it this kind of coloring effect here. All the different like glowing elements and shading and shadows. That then gets passed back to the illustrator, who then does the final version of the book. So at the end of the day, it's going to cost me around $90 to $100 to have a really gorgeous book cover, which I can promise you is a much better investment. Even though it sounds like a lot, it's a much better investment than spending years of creating shitty books or spending $5 per book cover. And again, one of the strangest things, one of the weirdest things, and again, where does this come from? I don't know, is that people are willing to spend thousands of dollars every single month on advertising campaigns, but they're not willing to invest into great looking book covers. And I'll explain why. I'll explain why as we go through the some of the members' results in the upcoming slides. So another thing here where I feel like people should be putting their focus onto is going broad with the niches and doing it better. Okay, so I'm not a huge fan of this whole niching down, and then creating books, because that means you're going to have to create hundreds and hundreds of books. And when you niche down so much, the audience just isn't there. So I go into super broad niches. I create the best book that I can. And when it works out, it works out extremely well. So the last book, for example, that I published in November, it now makes, I think, over $1,600 every single month. And that's just from the last book that I published, because I put a lot of time into the book cover, a lot of time into the illustrations that go into it, etc. And the reason that I believe it sells is because I believe it is on par with the best books out there, or possibly slightly better. For me, that's where I believe that the money is. I don't have the time to keep thinking about how am I going to niche down to a super specific audience. I want to go quite broad and just create the best books that I can. And again, when you're creating the best books that you can, you're going to run the ads. They're going to convert better. You're going to get good reviews. People are going to click on the book cover, and then you're going to get pushed out to more areas on Amazon. So that's why I focus. So for example, you can see here, this is a pretty poor looking book cover here. Now this person, if they're going to do word searches, for example, they need to level up their book cover game and create something like this. Oopsie, this is a crossword. Let's assume that this is a word search, for example. Okay, significant difference between this and this publisher here. They will likely start creating hundreds of these different types of books and seeing an income of about $10 per month, whereas this person, I assume, is making a ton of money because they have a much higher quality product with an awesome book cover. And one of the problems with some of these niches especially for word searches, is because like people, we used to do this thing where like you had to add something different or better to your book, and what people would do is just add more word searches, for example. But we got to the point where you can't keep adding more pages. Like for coloring books, you can't keep adding more and more pages, and that's why it's so important to focus on being the best and having some kind of unique selling point. If that makes sense. Now I want to talk about Amazon ads. Okay, so this is super important. If you're new to publishing, your approach to Amazon ads should be, if you're going to use Amazon ads, you should be testing them with a very, very small amount of money. Amazon ads, even though they're easy to set up, they are an advanced pursuit. You are declaring to the world, declaring to Amazon when you click that launch campaign button that you are at an advanced pursuit. So once you get there, thoughtful advertising spend across multiple countries is what is important. So for example, my spend this month is $1,038 across all marketplaces. Now, to be noted, I started with about $5 to $10 per month of advertising spend and built it up to this point. I did not just spend $1,000 a month, because you build up to it, which again comes back to being patient. So what we did here, and when I'm talking about being thoughtful, is we found the books that were performing well on the account, on my account. We then run those exact advertising campaigns in different countries as well. So here's a tip for people watching this. If you have a successful campaign, if you were to recreate that campaign across different marketplaces at pretty much the exact same cost per click and the exact type of campaign, you will probably see good results in those marketplaces as well, but only if you are having good results in the US store or whatever store that you start launching campaigns on first. Thoughtful advertising spend. We did not start at $1,000. We started really, really low and then built our way up to. And if you were to look inside of my advertising account, you would see that I have so many campaigns turned off because the metrics weren't looking good, and we just leave the ones on. So I have only got about 4 different types of books that have advertising campaigns being run to them across an account that has the account is about 500 books, but realistically it's about 40 actual books. Okay, so 5 out of 40 books in total have the advertising campaigns being run to them, and then we set them up in different countries as well to make the most out of them. So we're squeezing as many sales out of these books as possible. And a spoiler alert, this is so boring for people to hear, but I just use automatic campaigns, and that is it. Automatic campaigns and a couple product targeting campaigns as well, because I do the coloring books. The product targeting campaigns, they work really well. The cost per click gets extremely low, and the automatic campaigns work extremely well, and the cost per click gets, as you can see, extremely low across all marketplaces. And that's all I have to say about that. So building a real business is the next area that I think everyone should be putting their emphasis. If you're super serious, if you're not a side hustle dude and you're interested in building a real business, then Amazon can work amazingly well as a slice of your publishing goals. So in my opinion, Amazon on its own, just selling books on Amazon, is not a real business. Yes, you can treat it as a real business. I just don't think people should rely on Amazon completely. So that's not to say you should stop all your operations on Amazon, far from it, but you should be using Amazon as a part of your publishing business. So for example, I focus heavily on collecting customers' emails and telephone numbers so that they can be retargeted in future with more products, or we can create like a subscription service for these. When we release new books, we've got higher chance of those books making back all their money, making back their investment and things like that. So for me, like I said, I'm currently building up what is hopefully a huge email list so that the income becomes more predictable. We can make a return on our investment if we're hiring illustrators or whatever it is, or if we're running Amazon ads. It's pretty much going to be guaranteed if we have a loyal following, which for the most part, I don't think the following that you get on Amazon is particularly loyal. And taking people away from Amazon and building a website and selling your books there and having more products there to sell to them, I think is going to be incredibly important for people who are serious about this. So you might be thinking, well, it's going to take too long to do this. Now, let's really think about this. Does it actually take much longer to do this? And this comes down to the illusion of Amazon KDP being a quick way to make money, because you can upload a product you can start running advertising campaigns and seeing sales to that book within a matter of days to weeks. Now, whether you make a return on that is a completely different matter, because I know people who's been spending 2, 3, 4, 5 years on Amazon grinding away and not seeing any actual profit. So I actually did a call on one of the Raydog live calls that's recorded back in, I think this was December that we did this. I talk about what I'm actively doing with my own pen name, with my own brand, with my website. But we talk about this inside the membership. And again, it's something that is a slow burner. It's something that you need to build up over time. But like I said, it is incredibly important. And I do talk about this as and when I progress with it myself. I showcase what I'm doing with people, showcase what I'm doing with people, and also showcase the results that I'm having as well. So again, if you want to check out any of these calls, you want to check out the books that I published, the website, the QR code stuff, that's included in the live calls. It's chrisraydog.com if you want to check out and become a member. So again, that's building a real business. And again, I think this is something that people are going to get a little bit funny with, because I know that everyone says to treat this like a business. I just think that it's not as secure as people think it is. It's not to fearmonger people. It's not to stop people from publishing on Amazon. It is a great opportunity if you get it right. I just think that if people are super serious, especially about their advertising spend, then people will be collecting emails and thinking about building an actual business. So the bare minimum that I think people should be having is a way of capturing customers' details, a website, and a landing page. I think that's the bare minimum that people should have if they are going to start going down this Amazon route. Or if you've been going down the Amazon route and you haven't been doing this, then I think in the long term, it's super important. So getting feedback on your books, again, we spoke about this, about people being cagey with their books because the YouTubers like myself are super cagey with what they show off. Getting feedback on your books is one of, if not, and I can pretty much promise this to people, the best things that you can do. So just to give an example from one of the members from the Raydog group here, this is a person that's been struggling with publishing for 3 years. Losing money for 3 years. Now, I'm not going to show their name, not going to show their books or anything like that, but their December income was $120, which I think was at a loss. And since joining the Raydog membership, where we've taken a look at their books, they've showcased their books to us. They've got feedback from members inside of it. They got feedback from me. And over the course of time, over the last few months, couple months, they've started to progress with the things that have mattered, the unique selling points for their books, their book covers, getting all this feedback until they start creating really amazing products. And what they've eventually come back with now, they were kind enough to post this in the Discord, thanking myself and other people inside the Discord for the amount of feedback they got. And the most recent book they've published has hit $60. Currently $60 of profit per day. So no ads are being run, I don't think, on this person's book at the moment. So coming from having 2 to 3 years of no success to showcasing their books, getting tons of feedback, joining the live calls and doing all the things that really matter and move that needle. They've had their first $60 day. I'll be interested to get an update from them as to how their book is currently doing. But I've been checking their book and I'm pretty sure it's making $60 to $70 per day of profit at the moment, which is incredible progression. And like I said, this is the benefit to having a healthy approach to publishing in general, where there's no reason to not showcase your books to people. Okay, so again, I think the YouTube scene is slightly different. Inside the membership, I showcase everything that I'm doing. The new books that I'm working on are being released soon, the ways that I capture the emails, the ways that we're going to be setting up our social media presence and things like that. It's all going to be showcased as and when I do things inside the membership. I've got nothing to hide in there. And I think this is good for the publishing domain in general, or the make money online domain in general, is that it stops being so fucking cagey and there's this complete air of doubt and this big shadow over the whole thing. You're wondering all the time, what are people actually publishing? What are the things that actually make a difference? And this is what this community is for, is to keep it real, not to bullshit people, but primarily to make sure that people get the reality of what is going to help them progress and make sales and make money. So again, if you want to check out the Raydog membership, that includes the amazing Discord community where everyone is helping everybody out to progress and do well with their publishing journey, That's all included. The course content is included. The live calls, the recording of the live calls, it's all included inside of the membership. So that's going to be linked in the description below if you want to check that out. We've got a very generous refund policy as well. If you want to come in, you check it, you're not happy with things, feel free to cancel, to leave the membership. There's going to be absolutely no regrets here for people that join. But again, if you are super serious, then I do believe that this is the best place that you can be. So that's it for this video. I'll catch you in another one very soon.